Assalamu alaikum. Today we'll be discussing the anatomy of inner ear and we'll be specifically focusing on this part which looks like a snail shell, the cochlea. Okay, before jumping into the anatomy, let's discuss some important terms. Number one, the outer bony labyrinth. As the name indicates, it is the outer bony part. It's basically cavities present in the petrous part of the temporal bone. The main thing about the outer bony labyrinths are that they contain a fluid called the perileaf, which is quite similar to the extracellular fluid in a way that it's rich in sodium and low in potassium. Now, the other term is the inner membranous labyrinth. As the name indicates, is the inner membranous part, basically a series of communicating cavities that are present inside this bony labyrinth. Now, inner membranous labyrinth have a specialized fluid called the endolymph, which is quite similar to the intracellular fluid. In what way? It is rich in potassium and low in sodium. Now, today we will be talking about cochlea. So, this outer part here that we can see is the bony cochlea. So, it is a part of the bony labyrinth. Now, here we have a cross section of the bony cochlea, and here inside, as we can see, we have these rounded structures and we have this pyramid like bone running here. Now, this bone is called modiolus. It's around this bone that the cochlea is spinning, forming that snail shell like thingy. Now, from this bone are projections which are dividing the inside of the cochlea into various structures. These are called spiral laminae. Now, we are going to focus on this round structure and see what's in there. Here, as you can see, this round structure is divided into three compartments: the scala vestibuli, scala media, and the scala tympani. Scala vestibuli and the scala tympani have the perilymph fluid, and here the scala media has the fluid called the endolymph. Now, the scala media is also called the membranous cochlea and is also called the cochlear duct. It's the name of the same thing. Firstly, the scala media is separated from the scala vestibuli by this partition called the Reisner's membrane or the vestibular membrane. The function of this membrane is to separate the specialized fluid, that is the endolymph, in the scala media from the scala vestibuli. Then the scala media is separated from the scala tympani by this basilar membrane, which holds this special sensory organ, the organ of Corti, which is very much helpful in the perception of sound. Now, a bit about the scala vestibuli and the scala tympani. Scala vestibuli is behind the oval window and the scala tympani is behind the round window. Now, when stapes is going to push on the oval window, the fluid filled vibrations produced in the scala vestibuli are going to go to the scala media. Now, these vibrations can easily pass through the Reisner's membrane because this is a very thin membrane. Its only function is to separate the fluid between these two compartments. Now, once the fluid filled vibrations come into the scala media, let's see what do they do. Here we have the basilar membrane. Now, as we all know, we can perceive different types of sound, different frequencies, different pitches. There is a very special reason for that. Now we are going to go through it. Once the fluid filled vibrations enter the scala media, these fluid filled vibrations can vibrate different areas of the basilar membrane. For example, this is the base and a frequency of 20,000 Hz can vibrate the base. This is the apex of the basilar membrane and a frequency of 20 Hz can vibrate this. How is that? The basilar membrane is made up of elastic fibers, and these elastic fibers have different distribution throughout the membrane. For example, at the base, they are very short and tight, and as we go down towards the apex, these fibers become long and floppy. Now, an important correlate with physiology here is the place principle. The place principle is used to that we can determine the frequency of sound by looking at the area of the basilar membrane vibrating. That is, different parts of the basilar membrane correspond to different frequencies. This is how we can hear different types of sound. Now, as the fluid filled vibrations are going to come, they are going to vibrate this basilar membrane. Now, as the basilar membrane vibrates, the round window is pushed outward so that the fluid movement can take place here. Also, another structure to discuss here is that, let's say, okay, let's go at the previous picture. The scala vestibuli and scala tympani are connected at a point ahead of the apex of the basilar membrane. This point here, ahead of the apex of the basilar membrane, is called helicotrema, the part where the scala vestibuli and the tympani are connected. Now, okay, what is this structure? The organ of Corti. Like I told you, on the basilar membrane lies this special sensory receptor organ called the organ of Corti. Now, let's see what is the organ of Corti. Now, the organ of Corti has specialized structures. Firstly, we have the rods of Corti. These connect this basilar membrane with this supporting structure here called the reticular lamina, and this here form is the tunnel of Corti. Now, these rods of Corti divide the organ of Corti into an inner part and an outer part. In the inner part, we have only a single group of inner hair cells. This is important, only a single group. In the outer part, we can have about 3 to 4 groups of the outer hair cell. Now, the above part of these hair cells, these are the cilia, are somewhat in contact with this gelatinous membrane called the tectorial membrane. Now, what are the functions of these hair cells and how do they work? We are going to discuss that. But firstly, you should know that the inner hair cells are mostly involved in the perception of sound. About 95% of the nerve fibers come to the inner hair cells. These nerve fibers are coming from the spiral ganglion in the modulus. The spiral ganglion sends the peripheral processes about 95% to the inner hair cells, and its central processes go to the central nervous system. Now then, let's focus on these hair cells. Okay, here we have a diagram of the inner hair cells. Like you can see, these are the cilia, and specifically the smaller ones are the stereocilia, and we have this one big one, the kinocilia. These are the channels, and these channels have connections called the tipplings. Now, how do these hair cells work? I told you that the fluid filled vibrations come, they vibrate different areas of the basilar membrane, and because of that there is fluid movement. Now, once that occurs, the fluid endolymph rushes between here, the tectorial membrane and the cilia of the hair cells. Once this fluid rushes in, two things can happen. The stereocilia can either beat towards the kinocilia or they can beat away from the kinocilia. Now, what happens if they beat towards the kinocilia? These channels, they open. Positive charge rushes in, there is repolarization, and action potentials are sent by this peripheral process of the spiral ganglion to the CNS, sound perception. Now, what exactly is happening? Let's go through it slowly. What happens? The potassium ions enter in, there is repolarization. Along with the potassium, the calcium ions also enter in. These calcium ions causes this vesicle to fuse with this basolateral membrane and causes the exocytosis of the neurotransmitter, in this case glutamate, which causes action potentials to be generated and pass through this peripheral process of the spiral ganglion to the central nervous system. Now, what if they beat away from the kinocilia? These channels won't open, no charges will come in, and there's going to be hyperpolarization, no action potentials will be generated. Now, this was for the inner hair cells. What is the function of the outer hair cells? The outer hair cells are mostly involved in sound modulation. What does that mean? For example, if there is a sound of very high intensity which can damage our inner hair cell structure, so the outer hair cells function by two mechanisms. Firstly, there is a structure in the brainstem. We'll discuss it when we go through the vestibulocochlear nerve. Right now, you trust me. The structure here is the olivocochlear bundle. This olivocochlear bundle releases the neurotransmitter acetylcholine. This hair cell has special receptors for acetylcholine. Once acetylcholine binds to the outer hair cell, it either pushes the potassium ion outside, causes hyperpolarization, hence no action potential produced. No action potential produced means no sound perceived. That is one mechanism. Or other, this has specialized structures here called the prestins. What do prestins do? If we have a very loud sound coming in, these prestins relax. Once the prestins relax, the hair cell elongates, lengthens up, which causes the basilar membrane and the reticular lamina to move away from each other. That is, it causes the downward bowing of the basilar membrane. This is the protective mechanism from loud noise. Hence, this is how the outer hair cells function, either by throwing the potassium ion out or by the prestins. Now, lastly, another important structure of the scala media is this stria vascularis. What is the function of this vascular structure? It brings in potassium into the endolymph, maintaining the endolymph's high potassium and low sodium gradient. What is endocochlear potential? As I told you, these cilia of, that is the upper part of the hair cells, are bathing in endolymph, while this lower part is mostly in perilymph. Now what happens? There is a continuous potential difference between this endolymph and the perilymph, between the inside of the scala media and the outside. This potential difference, about of plus 80 millivolts, is called the endocochlear potential. What is the use of this potential? Basically, these upper hair cells are always at such a high potential that this potential sensitizes these hair cells. Thus, they can perceive even the slightest bit of sound. Thank you for watching, guys. Kindly let me know what you think in the comment section. Go through your books. Allah Hafiz.